So, yeah, it's interesting that you say that. Does it not demonstrate a more cyclical approach to things? The fact that this thing keeps happening, this, in my mind at least, yeah, in my mind. So,
sorry, I'm just listening.
Zarathustra, hand in hand with this linear concept of time, Zarathustra talks about the progressive mentality, finding better and new ways to do things.
Yeah.
And it seems contradictory to that teaching to keep doing the same thing. And in this instance, it's my claim that they keep tinkering with other people's religious traditions.
Sorry, repeat that bit.
So it may seem contradictory to the idea of A, of the linear progression of time, and B, with the progressive mentality expounded by Zarathustra, where he tells us, look, if you find new ways of doing, better ways of doing things, change your ways. And that seems contradictory to the idea that the Persians, in my mind, are repeatedly meddling in the religious traditions of other people. But although, yes, we can find new ways of doing things, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this seems to have, I think this seems to have served an end, served a purpose. This method seems to have served a purpose for the Persian people. Interestingly enough, I think it's the preservation of their way of thinking that led them to do this type of thing. So where they encountered a malleable religious tradition which potentially posed a threat or offered, gave them a means to an end. So for example, in the reformation of the Jewish tradition, they were bringing somewhat under control a people who served as a gateway to their imperial expansionist ambitions, because the ambitions of Cyrus the Great were to conquer Egypt.
Yeah, go to go westwards.
And so Judea
was a bridge
is arguably the gateway to North Africa.
Sure.
And yeah, and I see this as...
And so you're saying, like, even I'm going to bring in Siddhartha Buddha, figure Buddha. So he's also dealing with the cyclical tradition, and he comes at it from a very different approach to Zarathustra, who's coming to this cyclical tradition. So the Buddha kind of like teaches to...
You're not going to like my answer to this.
Okay, he's teaching to kind of separate yourself from the cycle, right? The only way to release yourself from the suffering of the cycles that is taught in Eastern philosophy is to reach a state of nirvana, which is to just exit the whole system, right? You're saying Zarathustra is trying to push a new, improved version of dealing with those cycles. As in, don't just laissez-faire, let the cycles happen. Rather, have the cycles happen, but try and make each cycle...
Yeah, my phone. Do you mind? If you don't mind, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, like, have each cycle happen, but try and make each cycle better than the other?
Right.
Is that where you're kind of coming from? Or
no. No. This idea of time is a cosmic issue.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that a similar thing can't happen. Let's say today, a thing can't happen today, and then in a couple of 100 years, a similar thing can't happen. They're still taking place along that linear historical pathway. I have a whole very controversial view on the origins of Buddhism.
Okay. I think we talked about it last time, so it's about it being related to the Buddha being a figure in Sassanid?
No, a Achaemenid.
Achaemenid, yes.
Yeah.
Achaemenids.
Yeah.
Sassanids are way
because
after,
he was like end of the 6th century, beginning of the 5th century BCE.
Sure. So I'm saying it's very interesting, like, there's these two figures, Zarathustra and the Buddha.
Yeah.
And they're coming at this Indo-Aryan way of dealing with things.
Yeah.
That dates back to the Proto-Indo-Aryans, which is very cyclical. I proposed to you before, like, the Chaldeans.
The?
Chaldeans.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, the Parthians.
Uh-huh.
The Parthians were very, they were quite, in terms of like the Persian region, they were quite, they weren't as enforcing of the religion of Zoroastrianism as the other Persian.
I don't think they were. I don't think they were
They weren't
Zoroastrians.
Zoroastrians, okay.
I think they were Mithraists.
Mithraism, okay.
But I think they were sympathetic to Zoroastrianism because soon after the time of Zarathustra,
Yeah.
Mithras was incorporated into Zoroastrianism. He was presented as the savior figure, the mediator.
Sure.
Zarathustra never mentions Mithras. He was,
Sure.
I think, he was moving away from that
Kind of thinking.
existing Indo-Iranian landscape of divinities. I won't go as far as calling Mithras a god, although he is considered a deity in the Vedic world.
But I was saying, could like the Parthians were very, they were a lot more tolerant of minority religions compared to other Persian religions, other Persian
disagree.
empires that were very enforcing of the religion of
I
Zoroastrianism.
disagree.
And they allowed Buddhist monks to come in. So could you not see the figure of Zarathustra being influenced by?
I disagree that the
So you're
Parthians
saying it's the other way around,
were more tolerant.
Okay, why?
Okay, you're aware of the presence of the cult of Mithras in the Roman world.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that I see the Persian world as being responsible for a series of influential, having an influential role on a number of religious traditions. I include that in the Roman religious tradition because the presence of Mithras in the Roman world is a direct result of Parthian intervention. It was part of their policy to have, not by accident, it was part of their policy to have Mithraic religious beliefs transmitted into the Roman world. So, for example, we have reports of them
As a
using.
form of subversion.
Pardon me?
As a form of like subversion of like.
Yeah, so as a form of psychosocial engineering. Yeah, subversion, if you want to call it that.
And is this where Christianity won out in comparison to Mithraism, because the Roman Empire recognized the Persian Empire as having?
I'll give a brief history as I know it.
Yeah.
The Parthians enlisted the help of a special operations navy, for want of a better phrase. The Cilician pirates. So Cilicia is on the southern coast of Anatolia at the time, and these pirates, who are most famous probably for having taken Julius Caesar captive and having won a handsome reward for him, although he took revenge on them at some point, or so the story says, at some point. They were hired to transmit Mithraic religious teachings into the Roman world through the Roman port towns of the Mediterranean.
Sure. Okay.
So these were the port towns that were also the home of many of the elite Roman families.
I'll let you finish, sorry. Yeah, I was going to come in, but I'll let you finish.
It was this process, as well as the migration of a labor force from east to west, bringing these traditions with them also, that ended up with Mithraism being arguably the world's most powerful religion at that time.
Sure. Yeah.
We see influences in Japan today.
Okay.
We see the temples of Mithras at Hadrian's Wall in London, at the London Mithraeum.
Yeah.
At Hadrian's Wall, there's at least 2 Mithraea.
Yeah. And would you say the secretive nature of Mithraism stemmed from it always being this Persian thing entering the rival kingdom, and that possibly being a reason for why Mithraism was such a secretive, elitist religion in the Roman Empire?
That may be true.
Yeah.
We have very little access to Mithraic liturgies, to writings or anything. Primarily because it was a mystery religion or a mystery cult.
Yeah.
It was not something that was discussed in public. It was not something the worship did not take place in a public arena, to such an extent that actually worship was conducted in subterranean temples. And with the rise of Christianity, churches were built often on top of Mithraic temples.
I mean, I really want to go down this line of.
So when you say the Parthians were more tolerant, they weren't. They were saying, take our ideas and flood the Roman world with our ideas.
Maybe they weren't tolerant towards the Western kingdoms, but I feel towards the Eastern kingdoms of their empire, they were a lot more tolerant.
Okay.
As in, they allowed Buddhist monks to come in and proselytize their people.
I would argue
like this would have had also an influence on the Zoroastrian religion.
That may be the case, but it would be an influence on later Zoroastrianism, because even in Achaemenid, I mean, the Parthians come some 200 years after the end of the Achaemenids, but by then Zoroastrianism is already 1300 years old. The teachings of Zarathustra are already 1300 years old.
Sure. Okay.
But I mean, it could. I don't know. I wouldn't bet my house on it. But the Parthians were probably related to the Eastern Iranian peoples. So the Parthians, as we know them, as we look back today, were based in what is the northern part of modern Iran.
Okay.
Around the southern coast of the Caspian Sea.
So it's kind of like, it kind of mirrors the Safavid invasions later on. As in, like, them coming from Azerbaijani area.
Yeah, well, the Turkic invasions would have been from the north. The Parthians happened to be from the north, but they were from. They are. I don't want to make a silly mistake. I think they are thought of as having been of Scythian stock.
Okay, yeah.
Now, some recent research suggests that Gautama Buddha may also have been of Scythian stock.
I think we talked about that.
Yeah, from the Saka people. So Scythian, from a Iranian linguistic perspective, is Saka.
Yeah.
So Sistan, the province of Sistan and Balochistan, Sistan is a contraction of Sakastan or Sakastana. So in a book called The Buddha from Babylon, Harvey Kraft gives it's like an 800-page study into the idea that Gautama Buddha was from a family of Scythian nobility, who were part of the Persian court, and who he himself eventually became the high priest of the Esagila temple in Babylon.
Yeah, I'm not really by that, but yeah.
Sure. Like I say, it's 800 pounds. No, but it's interesting because he approaches this from a multidisciplinary perspective. He looks at not only archaeological evidence, meaning he refers to clay seals that bear the crest of the Siddhartha family.
Yeah.
He identifies the family as being part of the Persian nobility. These seals are found in the Hall of Records in Persepolis.
Okay.
And he identifies a prominent villain, shall we say, from the perspective of Darius the Great, in one of the most famous sort of Persian Achaemenid dramas, so to speak. If anyone who's familiar with Persian history, the figure of Gaumata is thought to be Gautama, and they're perfectly aligned temporally, like in time.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll give you the book. It's fascinating. Excuse me. So not only does he look at the archaeological evidence, he also does what he calls spiritual excavation. He is a Buddhist of some 30 years.
Sure.
He studies whether the teachings of Gautama Buddha may actually have been born out of a critique, or whether they show contact with Zoroastrian teachings. So, but maybe that's a conversation for
Yeah,
another
it's really
day.
interesting, this high between Zoroastrianism and Buddhism. But I was just wondering, I probably have to head off in a bit,
No
but
problem.
I thought it was really interesting.